Unprecedented year where students have had to adjust how they learn and how they study and how they do examination in this online world. During this time, you have had to adjust your learning, you've had to come out of your comfort zone, unable to interact with your friends and your classmates in the classroom and unable to learn from your teachers face to face. Studies have also shown that this pandemic has not only caused an economic impact on countries and societies, but also psychological and social impact on students and families. So this session will seek to provide guidance and support our students who are out there maneuvering this online world. My name is Vanessa Boyce, Program Officer 2 in the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, and I am joined by a dynamic panel. My panel includes Ms. Joy McPherson, school psychologist, Mr. Nkosi Waldron, student of Signal Hill Secondary School, and Mr. Delano Jofield, student of Bishop's High School. Throughout the session, those who are joining on our Facebook page and also in our Zoom chat group, you can add your questions, any comments that you have, and we will answer them in the question and answer segment. So our first presenter this afternoon is Mr. Nkosi Waldron. Nkosi Waldron is a 19-year-old student of upper sixth form in Signal Hill Secondary School. He graduated from the Signal Hill Secondary School in 2019, attaining a full certificate of 7 CSEC passes, including a distinction in theatre arts. He went on to pursue A-level subjects, being successful in Unit 1, passing all his subjects. Nkosi represented his school in many competitions, such as the 2017 edition of the Prime Minister's Best Village Trophy Competition, storytelling category, where he placed first. In 2018, he also participated in the Raise the Bar Secondary School's Poetry Competition, where he placed second by a fraction of a point. Nkosi was a part of a team in 2019 that represented the school at Derek Walcott's Arts Festival in St. Lucia. He was also part of Carifesta 14 Tobago cast. Nkosi has also performed at various conferences throughout the island on the topic of domestic violence and women advocacy. He is passionate about the arts as well as any and all things associated with creativity. It is his hope that one day become a Broadway performer and have his own performing arts school. Now turn you over to Nkosi Waldron.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I would like to say thanks for the opportunity. Now, I'm sure we all can agree that online schooling and COVID has been messing us up a lot, right? And it's been hard for students to find a balance. So I am simply here to share some techniques that I developed in this COVID period to help me through the schooling, to help me keep balance, to keep my mental health in check. So I called them Coping with COVID-19 and Online School, and these are 4 steps to mentally cope. The first step is acceptance, then we have structure, we have release or recreational activities, and we have positivity or good vibes. Firstly, acceptance is basically knowing what we can and cannot control. We have to live with certain things. COVID-19 is a reality. We must accept that. We're in a whole pinnacle right now. There's nothing we can do with it at this point. The way we go to school now, which is online, on Zoom, logging into a Google Classroom, it is the new normal. There are assignments that we have to do and they must be completed by particular deadlines. It's just the way that things are. We have to go with it. And we can only focus our energies and our efforts on stuff that we can control. What is the point of stressing on something that you can't control? You have no control over it. Okay, let me see. I have no control of this water being water. I have no control over it. Why would I stress to make water solid if I have no control of it? Right? Focus your energy on somewhere that you can control. Structure. Structure is basically so that you can minimize chaos, because for me, chaos also leads to me overthinking and me being flustered and overwhelmed, and I'm sure that is also the case for a lot of students. What I do in terms of structure, I set a timetable that includes everything that happens on a daily basis. When I say on a daily basis, this means everything that happens during the day, no matter what, from the time you wake up to the time you go back to sleep, you include every single thing on it. On that timetable, you also set personal deadlines for yourself, for assignments and schoolwork that you were given, so that you complete it before the given due date, that you can review it, you can make corrections, and then submit it. That way, you would not be as flustered, and you would hand in work of substance, right? Another way to create structure is to ensure that you leave space in that timetable for recreational activities. Because yes, we are students, but we also need a social life. We also need a way of escaping, right? So for release or recreational activities, some stuff that helped me is exercising, you know, just releasing and just burning that sweat. Scrolling on social media, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, chatting with your friends on WhatsApp, scrolling on TikTok, you know, just find something that works for you to keep your head centered, you know, to keep you grounded. So it wouldn't be schoolwork all the time. You could watch a couple of movies. Who knows? Sleeping helps a lot of persons. I have friends that, okay, class finished now. Hey, what are you doing? Trying to talk to them? Nah, them going and sleep, because that is what centers them. That's what their escape is, right? And some persons, they just have to sit and just take in nature, you know. Watch outside, watch the birds, watch the breeze blowing on the leaves, you know. Stuff that wouldn't remind you of schoolwork. Stuff just to allow you to be in another world, per se. You're here physically in your country, in your room, you know, in that space where schoolwork is, but you are mentally somewhere else at the point in time, you know, to release, to feel free. And with positivity, you know, I strongly believe in Christ, right? So I pray a lot, you know, fill my space with good energy. And when I say space, I don't really mean like your surroundings alone. Your space also means like the stuff that you intake, your movies you watch, your friends you talk to, the stuff that you read, the conversations that you have. So you have to keep your space as positive as possible. By that you pray, you read the Bible for those that are Christians or those that believe in Christ. I also do daily affirmations. Like you look yourself in the mirror, I am handsome, I am confident, I am going to mash up these exams and nobody can tell me otherwise, you know. You constantly do this. Even if you don't believe it when you just start, I can guarantee you telling yourself this every day, there will be some improvement. It's kind of tricking yourself to believe it, per se, and then you will just exude that confidence. You will actually believe in yourself. I also love music, so I listen to music all the time, uplifting music. You see, persons sometimes, you know, that crocodile teeth and thing ain't really the best thing when you're studying, right? Listening to positive music, like let me say a little jazz to keep you in a calm mood while doing some schoolwork, some music on self-confidence, positive body image and stuff like that, just to keep yourself positive, you know. Having positive conversations with friends, because even before we started here, we were having a conversation with the other panelists, and you know, just having that conversation, you know, help, you know, build your confidence and keep you calm, ready to present, right? And you also have to eliminate complaining. Complaining is not going to help you doing anything. You complain about this, okay. Oh God, this water had no taste, this water. All right, what am I going to do? I still have to drink the water. The water's still there. The taste not going to change because I'm complaining about the water. So you need to focus, fill your space with positivity, have some kind of structure so that you could go with it. You wouldn't be chaotic and you wouldn't be helter-skelter. And I can guarantee you these stuff would help you and your mental health in this COVID-19 era, in this Penacool era, in this online school era. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nkosi. For those who are unable to access our Zoom chat because we are actually at capacity, you can feel free to log in on our Facebook. You can visit the Division of Education's Facebook page and you can view the session there and also add your questions there. So thank you, Nkosi. You provided 4 steps to mentally cope that I assume also helped you throughout this process. These steps are acceptance, accepting that COVID is here, COVID is real, and that online learning is real. I know that the ministry has also hinted that even though we plan to go back to school in September physically, there will still be some element of online learning. So that is something that will continue going forward. And as students, we have to adapt to that learning online. Structure, set a structure, set deadlines and timelines for what you have to accomplish. Of course, your teachers would give you dates and so on to submit assignments and reports and so on, but you can also set your own timelines, understanding the environment that we're in and that things could happen that might prevent you from completing it in time. Release, have recreational activities. I know right now because we are in the pandemic, even though more so because we are in a state of emergency, it's difficult to go outside as much as you want to go and run. Somebody like me, I like to run and exercise. You can't do that right now. Those who want to play football or play basketball on the court, you can't do that right now. But you should at least find some way to get that physical activity in and that way to release and have some kind of recreational activity so that you don't go, it's not too much for you in this kind of environment. Then, of course, positivity, good vibes, have your daily affirmation, listen to music that will keep you positive and that will uplift you. And this is very important also because even right now, as we are in this pandemic, you're always hearing all this thing about COVID, you're hearing all the different rates every day, you're hearing who get new cases, unfortunately new fatalities, and it could become too much. Sometimes people who we know get ill, or people we know might not be with us anymore, and this kind of negativity could be too much, but we must find that time to be positive and find something that will give us that positive vibe. So, Nkosi, you spoke about these 4 steps and how we mentally cope. But what I would like to know from you as a student, and we have all these students, primary and secondary students who are listening right now, personally, what have you been able to do, especially when it comes to recreational activity, to really help you throughout this process? What have you done to really help you?
Okay, so I am a practical person. As you said, I am anything and all things creative, right? So my escape was mainly music, dance, looking at movies, looking at Broadway productions and stuff like that. You know, stuff along the lines of creativity, something that I gravitate towards. So that way, no matter how much I try in that moment, while I'm looking at this stuff or doing this particular thing, thinking of school, I would always be drawn back to that. So me doing something that I really love distracted me a lot from school per se.
Okay, and that's another thing because your background is in theater and the arts, and I mean, with COVID, we can't have that close interaction with persons. You can't probably do the kind of, dramatic presence. You can't do any kind of shows or anything like that. So how have you been able to adapt to that? And I mean, your classes, anything that you had to do that had to do with theater, how have you been able to adjust to that?
Well, in the beginning, it wasn't as easy because you went from having rehearsals every week, almost every day, to just having rehearsals once a month, and then constantly being home, being, restricted per se, because you can't go anywhere. It was a difficult transition, but what you had to do is you had to give yourself something to look forward for. So even before we were locked down completely and we were still having rehearsals like once a month or once every 2 weeks, something like that. Okay, I learned this in rehearsal today, I go in. Every day I practice in this. Let me see what I could add on to this. And I go in back rehearsals, I blow away everybody. Let me see what we could do about that, Give yourself something to look forward to. Even with when we were locked down completely, no rehearsals, I was like, okay, I had to do something for me because this ain't working out. So what I did, I started an online dance course. Like I went online, search Instagram, search the web, looking for courses that offered dance, different dance techniques that I know nothing about, and just take it, educating myself while finding that sense of release.
Okay, and that's another good point that you made, those online courses that are available, and that's something that I want to encourage your students as well, because even though you are at home and you are in school, you may have some extra time, and there's so many different online courses, online workshops that you can do. Anything that you see, I'm sure you all are in a lot of WhatsApp groups where you will see people post different advertisements for different workshops and so on. Take advantage of those opportunities so that coming out of this process, coming out of this COVID, this restrictive time, you're coming out even a better person, that you're continuing to learn, that you're not just going with what your teacher is teaching you, but you're learning so much more because you now have this opportunity. Some of you may not have had access to laptops and internet before, but now that you have it, you have all this world of opportunities and different training that you can access. You can do training and get certified in things in any parts of the world, and they're just available online. So I want to encourage you that you can look at these things. There are different online websites that provide courses like Coursera. You go on and there's so many different courses that are all free. So you have additional certifications that when you finish school, you finish Form 5 or Form 6, you have additional certificates going forward. So I want to encourage students as well on that. So we will take a break. When we come back, we'll have Ms. Joy McPherson who will be presenting. And as we go on a break, I want to remind those students who are joining in the Zoom chat, you can ask your questions there. Those who are joining in on our Facebook page, you can also ask questions there. Those joining in on Channel 5, we want to thank you for joining us there as well. And as we go to a break, we want to remind you to keep your mask on.
While this coronavirus pandemic continues to challenge us every day in every way, especially in tourism, now is not the time to let our guard down.
I choose to protect myself, my family,
my co-workers,
my community,
and this beautiful place called Tobago.
Because it's going to take a united effort to create a safer Tobago
for residents, frontline staff,
and hopefully very soon visitors from abroad.
Together, we can do the right thing by putting our mask on.
Physical distancing.
Following all the recommended safety protocols to fight the spread of this virus.
Tobago needs every single one of us to do the right thing.
And lead by example.
No matter who we are.
As an entertainer.
As a sister and friend.
As a husband.
An entrepreneur.
a leader. I put my mask on, and so should you.
Join us in putting your mask on, because covering your face is one small act of kindness
that has the power to bring us together and potentially save a life.
So put your mask on.
So put your mask on.
So put your mask on.
So, put your mask on. Please, let's help to return this island to normalcy.
Welcome back to Students Finding the Perfect Balance. Thank you all for joining, and those who are joining in our Zoom chat, we know that this is a wonderful opportunity for you to interact with all your friends. But we want to remind you to reserve the chat for questions that we want to ask our panelists. And for those who are unable to join our Zoom chat, we want to remind you can view us on our Facebook page, on Tobago Channel 5, and also on the Division's YouTube channel. So again, this is Students Finding the Perfect Balance. It's a production of the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy. And we will now have our second presenter, Ms. Joy McPherson. Joy McPherson has been a school psychologist with the Student Support Services Unit in the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy for the past 6.5 years. She spent a number of years as a public servant, but always knew she wanted to work with children and therefore embarked on her academic journey. She received her bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in international relations from the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus. She then went on to earn her master's in school psychology from Adelphi University in Long Island, New York. This experience, where she worked with a diverse population of both students and teachers, further strengthened her resolve to contribute to the development of Tobago's children. Her position as a school psychologist has afforded her the opportunity to fulfill her personal objective to be an integral part in the development of individuals and support them in the journey to attain their full potential. Joy sees her relationship with and faith in God as a source of her strength and integral to her peace of mind. Her family is also an extremely important part of her life, and she acknowledges them as a source of encouragement. Now join Ms. Joy McPherson.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I do count it a privilege to address our students today. The division thought it important to reach out to parents and teachers, and today, students, this is your turn because you're a very important part of this equation. So I really thank you for spending some time with us. All right? This is what school looks like today. Is it? I don't think so. Because prior to the pandemic, this is what your school looked like. You got up in the morning, you got ready, you put your clothes on, you got into a school building, you got into your class, you met with your friends, you were involved in sports, chess club, drama club, all that good stuff. And you were able to interact and build your relationships. You were in this place called a safe space for your holistic development. And whereas school sought to look at your academics, it also helped to build and maintain your social connections, building friendships that we know would last way beyond leaving school. You were able to build your communication skills, your managerial skills, your leadership skills. Many of you were involved in different groups and you had your responsibilities. So all of that was in that safe space. Then March 2020 happened. And I'm sure this looks familiar to all of us. You were now at home. You were now in front of a computer. You were now seeing your teachers behind the screen. So what happened? Your home became your school, and your bedroom, your dining room, or your kitchen became your classroom. You no longer had physical contact with your teachers. And a lot of students, especially the older ones, you became sometimes responsible for assisting your siblings, especially with their online classes and stuff like that. You now had to help your parents handle the home because now you're home, you're in this space and you needed to help. Sometimes you were made responsible, sometimes for elderly relatives that might be living in your home. So the additional responsibilities were there on you. And this is key. This other point is key. There were those students who struggled, and the change in education still meant that you struggled and that you were still in need of specialized help. That the change in to the virtual environment did not change that. So the process changed, but the expectations of you remained the same. So what are these expectations? These were expectations from parents, from teachers, and from yourselves. And I know we have some students who are exceptionally hard on themselves. But this was not even to perform at high stakes exams like the SEA and CSEC and CAPE, but just to perform as a student in this new environment. It was not a simple thing to do. But now your parents were parenting behind the mask, your teachers were behind the screens, and you were left to find the perfect balance. But your perfect balance is now your virtual reality. And I know a number of you are online and you will see those virtual reality games. It's sometimes a little funny when you see people falling over themselves with the headsets on and the gloves and they're playing and they lose balance. But your virtual reality is not a game. It is your reality. And the only headsets you're having on is to listen to your teachers. Because your virtual reality now is that you're a student at home. The workload, and the previous speaker mentioned about having those deadlines, the online hours, crazy online hours, because it's necessary. And we go back to those additional responsibilities at home that you cannot escape. This is your reality. This is your new normal. And with your new normal came challenges. You are now adapting to a virtual environment. You now left this place where you met with your friends and your teachers, and you were in that space where you were present. People saw you. And now you're at home, confined to a particular space. So you had to adapt. There were a lot of technological issues, and we're really grateful to the division for doing their part in helping in providing devices to students that need it. Connectivity, we know, is still a bit of an issue in some places. Lack of in-person interaction. I cannot overemphasize this because we're not meant to just be on our own, and we thrived in that environment, right? Time management. I know we have timetables and schedules to follow when we would be on. But if you are not a self-starter and able to manage what you have to do, completing tasks and assignments in a timely fashion could become problematic. So time management was an issue. Motivation. As I mentioned before, you got up, you got ready, you got dressed, you went to school. Some persons could literally just roll off their beds and go to class. And for some, there was no motivation in that. All right? So it's just that it wasn't just simple and I do it, but there was no motivation to get you going. And some people struggle with that. So you ask yourself, what's happening to me because of these challenges? And I'm sure a number of you can identify with some of these feelings. You're sad, you're not sleeping well or sleeping too much, not eating or eating too much. You're unable to concentrate, you forget things, you're unable to complete your task, you're scared, you're worried, and you've pulled away from your friends. Take a little time, just look at some of these. I'm sure some of you can identify. So, these are signs of some of these mental challenges. They're signs of fear, stress, depression, anxiety, or panic, being overwhelmed, frustrated, and isolated. And isolation, I put this in before because a student told me, she said, "Miss, I'm not lonely, but I'm alone." And that resonated with me. All right? These things that you're experiencing is your mind and your body's response to the current situation. These are mental challenges. But the good thing about mental challenges is that there are some things that you can do. There are some interventions and some strategies that you can use. So let's just go through them quickly. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I'm going to say that one more time. Communicate. I cannot overemphasize this. Sometimes you have to give yourself a chance to hear what your mind is saying. So to be able to do that, you need to sometimes just speak. And I know emotions are not easy to speak about, but sometimes you have to begin very simple. What's the simplest way you can say how you're feeling? Express your emotions positively. And again, our panelist said before, he's a creative, so using dance and drama is his way. But sometimes I realize that within our student population, we have a lot of creative persons. People able to write and draw, dance. So do your spoken word, do your poetry, write your story, because it's your way of expressing yourselves. For those that are challenged with the creativity aspect, Sometimes just to release, taking a pencil on a plain paper and just sometimes, because you're so tense, that in itself helps to just relieve some of the stress in that moment. Create structure and develop routines. And I know within our schools we have our guidance counselors. They will be able to help you in putting something together that would be able to help you. A routine that will work for you. A structure that you can be able to complete your tasks. Take care of your physical needs. Eat properly, sleep, exercise. Those are the things that you need just to keep your body in some sort of focus. All right? Take time to connect with family and friends. I'm saying that again. Take time to connect with family and friends. During this time of a pandemic, sometimes the only people that you have, you would normally be around them, but now you're confined. Yes, you're confined to a space, but we can meet out virtually. I'm still going to emphasize that in person, but sometimes you have to reach out to persons that are not there. But take the time to connect with them. It's important. Do fun stuff that helps you relax. I'm going to take a little flack for this because it's not all that serious, because you have to sometimes put it down for a moment and relax. You have to take some time to breathe. You have to take some time to do something fun. Call up the girlfriends, have a virtual movie night. Bring out the popcorn, and you know that friend that's going to talk through the entire movie. But do it. Have fun. Have a virtual games night. Do a challenge. Those athletes, do a little challenge. Have some fun. You are students, so please be confident in your abilities. Some things may be a little difficult for you, but be confident in your abilities. Ask for help when it's needed. Help could never be a bad thing. A friend of mine said it and I always pull on it. Help could never be a bad thing. Ask for help when needed. So even if it means it's in extra classes or, or just some extra explanation, but you're just working something with you, it would help. Speak positively to yourself. Don't wait for anybody to do this for you or to you. Speak positively to yourself and hold on to your faith. Those that you believe in God, you believe in prayer, you believe in utilizing the Word of God, hold on to your faith. Now, these are some strategies you can use. And the idea is to be able to give you some strategies to find some balance. The thing is, if you're utilizing these strategies and things are still difficult for you, you can reach out. And in my role as a school psychologist, we are able to work through some of the issues you may having with your negative thoughts and emotions and even the behaviors. We're able to work through with you to navigate how you go through these. We also do evaluations and we also provide counseling, right, for those development of your skills and development of you as an individual and be able to help you get through this time. The unit also provides a service. Student support services also provides the services of school social workers, guidance counselors, and especially for the primary school area, special education teacher. All right, so we are there to help you. So my encouragement for us is that whatever strategies you could utilize, please do. But if you realize that you need additional support, do not hesitate. Reach out to the Division of Education, and the information is here, and it is also on our website. Reach out to the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy Student Support Services Unit. We will work with you. We will help you the best way that we can. With this, I want to just give you this takeaway. Finding balance does not mean everything is perfect. It's a work in progress, but it's finding the things that work for you. I'm hopeful that something I said today would help you find some balance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss McPherson. You gave the students a lot to think about, a lot of guidance. For those who did not get that number for our Student Support Services Unit, it's 299-0781, extension 3109. Also, you can visit the division's website at thadeie.gov.tt or our social media page for updates and additional support. So, Ms. McPherson, you spoke about what school was before, a safe place for holistic development, and now that school is the home, and that the classrooms could be the dining room area, the living room, or even the bedroom. And that although the process and the format of school has changed, expectations have remained the same, and that students now have these expectations from their parents and their teachers and themselves. So even though that they are no longer in school physically and face-to-face, they still are expected to perform at a specific level. And this is now their own virtual reality, and that it can cause these mental challenges. And there are several ways that it can adapt, and of course that it could consult the Division Student Support Services or school psychologists for support. So we have some questions. The first question from a student: I feel uncomfortable sharing my feelings and I'm afraid of being laughed at. How do I get my message across without feeling ashamed?
It is difficult. And I said before, sharing is not always simple. The first thing you need to do is to identify someone that you trust. It could be a parent, it could be a friend. And the thing is that that person may not be the one to really work it out with you, but may be able to help you get the help that's needed. But the very first thing is to find that person that you trust. And sometimes we do have to weed it out and weed out who that person may be. But begin. My thing is to begin simple. What are you feeling? Is it fear? Is it sadness? Start simple, but find someone that you can trust. That's my advice to anybody who's having any difficulty in sharing their feelings.
Okay, thank you. And that actually goes straight into my second question that I see here. I'm feeling sad all the time, not eating well, not sleeping. What do I do?
All right. The fact that you can identify that you are feeling sad, again, I am going to say, I may re-emphasize it, communicate it with someone. Again, identifying with someone that you trust. I'm feeling sad. Give yourself the opportunity to figure out why you're feeling this way. What might be impacting you so badly that you feel this way, that is affecting the fact that you're not eating. Something's happening, and that's okay, and that's what I said, it's understandable. We realize there's a lot going on, but identifying what the problem may be at that point that's affecting you is the start point. Mm-hmm. If we can work through some of the strategies in you communicating, expressing yourself, identifying what might be affecting you, then we know that we can probably deal with it and be able to help you. Mm-hmm. If that does not work, then we talk about asking for additional support, where you may need a professional to assist you. But the idea is having the strategies and utilizing some of these strategies that may be beneficial to you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I was also thinking, as we were talking about, classroom is now the dining room or living room or bedroom, and students are at home. What advice you would give for those students who are probably in a home with other siblings and they probably all have online classes at the same time? I could imagine that in a home in a situation like this, it will be very hectic and probably difficult for a student to focus on their classroom while their siblings are also in another classroom, probably right around the same dining room table. So what kind of advice do you give to students in that scenario?
This is not unusual, because we have a number of parents who have students and they're in different levels. Now, some students you may have to monitor, especially the younger ones. Others can operate on themselves. It would be the best situation in kind of defining a space. Now, a space may mean that you're at one end of the table. A space may be that somebody is on the couch in the living room. It may be in close proximity. And the most practical thing is to ensure sometimes that you have your headphones so that it lessens a lot of the distraction. But sometimes we have to work with what we have and what we don't have. And what you may not have may be a lot of space. But creating a structure that works for the family is how this will work. And a parent, you know, trying to just to monitor and maintain some level of order. The person and each other would know that we're in classes, so you try to minimize the distractions and just entice and allow them to function in what they're doing. All right, so we all have to be mindful of it. We work with what we have and what we don't have. That's okay, right? But we just use the spaces that we have. Somebody's at the table, someone's at the other end, someone's at the living room, somebody's at the, you know, so we work with what we have.
Okay, and we want to remind those viewing that you can ask your questions on Facebook, and also in the Zoom chat. We just opened up the chat so you can ask your questions there as well. So we have another question from Facebook, and it's also similar to the question that you had before. This person says, so I guess it's a trend among students, unfortunately. This person said, I am feeling sad and I'm up late at night, always by myself, and I don't want to talk to anyone. What do I do?
Okay. Unfortunately, it's not that unusual because these are unprecedented times. This is a time that none of us planned for. And even sometimes you have to understand that even our parents, some of our teachers struggle with these emotions. Anytime you're going through an emotion that is affecting you physically, as difficult as it may seem, we have to start somewhere. I am going to re-emphasize, communicate, communicate, communicate. It has to be that one person that you can reach out to, that you can say, I am feeling sad. I don't know what is happening. It may seem simple. It may seem, I have to say it again and again, and I'm going to say it again and again. But we have to be able to reach out and to be able to state, I am having a problem. If it is so, it's so affecting you that you have to get additional support, that is what is going to happen. But you have to start somewhere. My urging is to start there. Start very simple. Speaking to someone.
Okay. Another question from Facebook. If you are not self-motivated, what strategies students can use to become motivated or to be motivated?
Motivation could be, and I'm sure if I use the term, a lot of my students will know, intrinsic and extrinsic, right? It comes from the outside and it comes from the inside. Now, you could have persons that motivate you, right, by the things that they say. And then you can have that motivation from the inside. Motivation begins when you know or have an idea what you want. It may not be perfectly clear, but you have an idea what you want for you. So it begins there. In terms of not being a self-starter, but knowing that you have responsibilities, you make the effort to create a structure. If you cannot do it on your own, this is where you ask for the assistance. Right? I am going to pull on the previous panelist who said before, he identifies everything that he has to do during the day. And that's a process you can use. If you can't do it on your own, I would encourage, as I said, our guidance unit they can help with the development of a timetable that you can use at home, not just for your classes, but for you to prioritize your assignments and meet your deadlines and stuff like that. So if you're not a self-starter, you can still reach out for help in terms of putting a structure in place, right? But you need to have some structure in order to get things done.
Okay. We have another question. This is from Amani McKenna. If I am stressed in my Zoom sessions, what do I do? And I know that as someone, we are all in a lot of Zoom sessions, and I think there's something called Zoom burnout right now because you're in so many sessions, or Zoom fatigue, that because you're in so many sessions back to back. So this student says that she's stressed in her Zoom sessions, and what can she do?
Tell the teacher. First thing. And I want to reach out not just to students here, but because there are some things we can control and there are some things that we can't. I overheard in my niece's class, one of her classmates said, "Miss, I don't want to do no work today." That's a 6-year-old. The child was on point and he was able to communicate, "Miss, I didn't want to do any work today." Now, we may not just be in that position, "Miss, I don't want to do any work." But I think we need to be open as teachers as well and as parents, where a student can say, "I'm tired. I am tired. It's like I can't absorb anymore." And for the persons to understand, and sometimes it's just a break. Sometimes it's just to do something a little differently. It may still be the same, it may be the class, you may not shut down the class, but do things a little differently that may not take so much effort, that it may even cause the student to relax. So if you're so burnt out, please say it. Please say it. And for some persons, it may just mean, "I just need to, can I have half of this off?" And that is working with your teachers, working with your parents, not just absconding from classes. I'm never going to agree to that. But sometimes you just need to take a step back.
Okay, this question we have, well, it's from a primary school student. I'm feeling anxious about SCA. How can I cope with this?
Anxiety is normal. And even if you were in regular school, you'd have a level of anxiety. Anxiety is another thing we can talk about on a longer sphere. But one thing I must say to you is that you're in classes, you're being prepared. Utilize the time that you have to continue preparing. Parents, don't overwhelm them. They have classes, they have practice tests, let them do that. They can't go playing sports as they usually do, but let them have the time to relax, do something fun. As a student and as a parent working with the student, if you know there are weak areas, spend time building upon those weak areas, so the child can be a bit more confident when they sit to do the exam. It's just one more step. It's just one more step. No sense in overwhelming them that they lose focus and they're so overwhelmed that they can't perform. Give them the support that they need. And as a child, as a student, always learn to speak how you're feeling, what your struggle is, so that you can get the help, whether it's from your parent, from a teacher, and just be able to go forward and do your best.
Thank you. Well, the questions are coming in fast and furious. I'll ask you one more question before we go to a break. And if any of the students have any more questions, you can still ask it and we'll come back at the end. So this question, sometimes I don't really like to go online and I miss real school. How can I enjoy it?
We all do miss in person. It's amazing what we can get when we're face to face with persons. I understand. Unfortunately, we're in that position. My panelists said before, COVID is real. This is the reality. This is your new norm. And even if you don't want to do it, we have to find something positive in the whole of this. I remember asking questions of a class, and most persons would say, I was frustrated, I was overwhelmed, different things were happening to them. And one student said to me, I'm grateful, I'm blessed. And I had to say, expand that for me. And yes, it was difficult and you didn't like it, but you had the opportunity to still do it. You still had the opportunity to be in a classroom, to receive instruction. You were able to do that. So even sometimes you don't like it. I know, sometimes we have to eat our vegetables and we don't like it, but it's good for us. So we do it, right? Even the virtual space, I'm going to encourage you to do something fun. So you wouldn't just attribute it to study and school. Hang out with your friends, as I said, do a virtual movie night. Bring out the popcorn, bring out the soda and that kind of thing. Share your screen. And as I said, you have that one friend who's going to talk through the whole movie. And just do it. Do something fun so that you wouldn't just think about Zoom and think about an online with classes. All right? Do something fun. Do a challenge.
Thank you very much, Miss McPherson. And I know you answered a lot of students' questions, and as I said before, any other students, if you have any more questions, you can put it in the Zoom chat or on the Facebook page. And for those viewing who probably wanted to get into our Zoom chat, unfortunately, we have reached the max, but you can view on Facebook, you can view on Tobago Channel 5, and you can view on the Division's YouTube channel. So now we will take a break. When we come back, we will have one of our other students presenting. So as we go to the break, we have a message for all our SCA students as you prepare for that big exam.
Wash your hands.
New normal.
There may be temperature scans.
New normal.
Be early for class.
New normal.
Don't forget your mask.
New normal.
It's time to start.
New normal.
To keep your distance apart.
New normal. New normal. New normal.
Out with the old, in with the new. Germs stick to surfaces like glue. The new normal way is there to protect you. Stay home if sick, it may be the flu. Achoo. Please, if you cough or sneeze, cover with your elbow. Hands is a no-no. 6 feet apart from your school fellows. Simple guidelines you must follow. Hey, 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 it's SEA. Take a deep breath, it would be okay. Once you prepare, you would see your way. Arrive very early on that day. Hey, hey.
SEA.
Hey, hey.
SEA.
Hey, hey.
SEA.
It's the new normal, the normal way.
New normal. 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 New normal.
Welcome back to Students Finding the Perfect Balance. This is an initiative of the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, and is the final installment of a 3-part series where we look at providing guidance and support to parents, students and teachers as they maneuver this online education world. Our next presenter is Mr. Delano Jofield. Delano Daniel Jofield is a 19-year-old young man who is guided by Almighty God and driven to youth development. He is a graduate of Bishop's High School, Tobago, and currently a student in the 6th form program. nearing his upper sixth year completion. He is studying Caribbean history, literatures in English, sociology, Caribbean studies, and communication studies. Delano is known for various outreach programs and seminars where he engages with youth on topics such as crime prevention and the importance of extracurricular activities. Delano is currently the youth speaker of the Tobago Youth Assembly 2020-2021 and is determined to empower persons within his generation, especially young men. One of his very first outreach ventures for young men came in the form of a men's talk session held in the Canaan-Bonacor district for men within that area. Now students, join me as we welcome Delano Jofield.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, and I want to take this time to thank the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy for allowing me the opportunity to speak on a topic that I have experience with, because I too went through a period of depression before the pandemic started and before we started this virtual online journey. And even during the virtual online journey, it worsened, and I had came to a point where I stopped going to classes, and I just neglected those around me, thinking that I just needed more time for myself. But it took the help of a mental health professional and me wanting to get back there, because I understand where I want to be and I understand the goals that I want to accomplish and the mindset that I need to be in, that made me find what we are discussing now, my perfect balance. So I'm going to get right into the presentation. The perfect balance. What is the difference with the two pictures that you all see? Some persons may say that one is a living thing while the other is inanimate. Others may say that one is able to travel at further distances than the other. But let's take a look at the difference between these two pictures. The plane. You see, although a plane has a wide range of technologies that is used to create the aviation masterpiece, the plane is just used for one single function: to take both persons and cargo to other parts of the world via air transportation. Yes, the plane is only designed to be maximally efficient at one thing. So now, knowing what the plane is used for and that it's maximally efficient at one thing, do you think you know the function of the other picture? Let's take a look. The boy. Unlike the plane, the boy isn't designed to be maximally efficient at just one thing. This makes him a generalist. And what does that mean? It means that he's able to do many things, although not at the same time, that would make him a balanced human being. What does this mean? It means that we as humans have different aspects of our lives. We are not just students. We are brothers. Some of us are boyfriends. Some of us, we are children. And we are even inspirations to persons we may not know. Yeah? And because of this, we need to give the other aspects of our lives focus. And this is because a balance is needed for us to be efficient human beings, unlike the plane, which just has one function, which is to provide air transport. What do we mean when we say finding the perfect balance? Many individuals believe that having a school life balance is mostly about eliminating activities from your calendar, setting your priorities, reducing your schedule, and learning time management. All of these are great strategies, all important for your school life, since these actions are necessary to basically increase the work component sufficiently. However, individuals who make education the only priority may start to develop challenges, which is something that I went through personally in other aspects of their lives. This disturbance that is created in one factor, it transfers into the other factors. Meaning, okay, when I say this, what do I mean? Because you give all your attention to education at this point in time, it drains the other aspects of your life, and that becomes a problem. The other aspects that you need to cope, to give you hope. And then when you don't have that, it burdens the education sector, which is one of the sectors that gives stress and increases mental health, decreases mental health. It is important. It is at that point, as I said before, that signs of depression and stress and anxiety begin to show up in your life. But be not troubled. Despite being busy with school, it is possible to preserve a sense of balance in your life and reach your goals. The aspects. Before I was speaking about aspects. As youths, these are basically the main 5 aspects of our lives. We have education. For adults, it may be work. Health, recreation, your social life, and your spiritual life. Let's look into this. Your education, basically your personal and academic development. Your health, your physical, mental, and emotional state. Recreation, your investment in a talent. All you footballers, netballers, cooks out there, or just something you enjoy doing, walking in the park, walking your dog, playing an instrument. Your social life, your relationship with others, which is really important, especially in these times where we are not able to connect with others, but I will speak on this further on in the presentation. And here we have the final one, your spiritual life, which is that relationship you have with the greater power, God. Now that I know I can be successful not only by prioritizing education, but by balancing the priorities of the other 4 aspects, that still doesn't tell me how I'm finding the balance. What can I do to find that balance? Before we go further, it's important to note that my perfect balance may differ from your perfect balance. However, there are some pointers that I will share that will assist you in helping to find your perfect balance. Not perfect as in without impurities, but perfect as in the sense that it fits you and it works for you and make you comfortable. I just want you all to keep that in mind. We can approach what is known as a burnout, which is something we spoke about previously, when we have too many duties that require our energy, times, and other internal resources. However, if we conduct our lives with the goal of avoiding all such commitments whenever feasible, we risk living a life devoid of meaning and happiness. Basically saying, we can't stress on only one thing. We can't just stress on schoolwork alone, or we can't just stress on basically recreation or play alone. It needs a balance. The amount of time and energy you spend on activities that feel like work versus activities that nourish you and feel like play is crucial. Is a crucial element to balance between sustaining a life of overwhelming activity and a life with insufficient meaning and excitement. There are several approaches that you may use or strategies that I'm going to share with you now. Engage. Engage in recreational activities. Recreational time is frequently the first thing that would come to someone's mind when they think about balance, as it should. There is evidence to support that engaging in recreational activities assists to reduce anxiety and tension by immersing you, the individual, in that present moment. My colleague Nikosi would have spoken on this earlier. When one is truly immersed in an activity, it helps to calm the chatter in the nerves and overwhelming mind and brings that individual back to the present moment. Therefore, it is critical to find time to do things that you enjoy and relax. But then, we understand that recreational activity is important. The first 2 presenters stressed on it. But what if the things that I like to do for recreation are restricted at this time because of the pandemic? You see, the beaches, arcades, water parks, and other recreational facilities at this time are closed. But I'm here to tell you, with little planning and creativity, you can thrive during an extended period of social distancing. At home, there are many activities that can keep you active and learning, both for you to create and that you can find online. An extended period at home can serve as an opportunity to learn new skills like cooking and writing, something that you always wanted to do and you never got the time to do. Now you have the time, so use it. And for those who are more on the physical fitness side of things, be creative. Launch Zoom workouts with your friends and create other exciting fitness activities that would challenge you to ensure that you stay active. 2, connect. Stay connected with friends, family, special groups, and mental health professionals. It's really important that we as humans connect. And as I shared earlier on before I started the presentation, this was an aspect of my life that I really neglected because I felt like I didn't need to burden others with my depression, or I just needed time for myself. Now, having time for yourself is all right. But when you realize that it's really burdening you and you need to speak to someone, stay connected and speak to those you need to speak to. Humans are social creatures. We yearn for a connection. We need to connect. We need that. We miss that hugging when we reach in school, just sharing a snack, walking down the hallway with friends. We are social creatures. As we spend more time at home, shut off from friends and family in an effort to stem the spread of the virus, the absence of physical connection may be emotionally taxing to many of us, as it was for me. Trying to keep connected with others under this lockdown is crucial, especially for your mental health. I realize most of the questions that were directed to my colleague were basically on mental health and having to do with stress and coping, not feeling all right. Many times, we just there and think we're alone. As she said, someone told her she isn't lonely. She's just alone. Yeah? Many individuals are taking advantage of more virtual games nights, Zoom chats, and trainings, more FaceTime meetups. These modest virtual encounters may appear to not be significant, but for those that are isolated, they may be incredibly useful to help to meet their social requirements. We all have social requirements, and even now we feel that it is little by little being diminished. But I'm here to tell you, with a little more effort, just trying to stay connected more than ever now, it would help. Your mental health has a big influence on your physical health and vice versa. When an imbalance in our daily routines and social connections is disrupted, our health might suffer, which is why keeping connected while socially distanced is crucial. And in these times, more than ever, you are encouraged, I am encouraging you, to keep in touch with your guidance counselors and other mental health professionals. Though you miss the feel of that physical space, that intimate face-to-face, try to take advantage of the virtual setting. Don't put your mental health on hold because the physical setting and that feeling that you had is now restricted at this time. Use the avenues presented and keep your mental health in check. Number 3, strengthen your relationship with God. Mark 10 verse 27 says, "For with God all things are possible." Each person's spiritual connection is unique, providing persons with strength, hope, and faith. As we continue to navigate social distancing, self-quarantines, masks, and other COVID regulations, the religious bodies have taken the opportunity to offer connections via stream services, virtual study, and prayer sessions. So why miss out? Because it's not in person? No. Take advantage of these sessions. Some of them you never used to go, but at least go to the services that are available on a Sunday. You see, when you take advantage of these opportunities and you strengthen your connection with God, because it's important to have healthy spirituality, because it provides a sense of calm, completeness, and harmony in the physical, emotional, social, and spiritual elements of your life. When you strengthen this connection with God, it strengthens other aspects of your life. And for those who may not find it interesting to attend these virtual settings, you can do your own study. Find activities to increase your spiritual knowledge, understanding, and strengthen that faith that we need at this time in this pandemic. Now is not the time to lose your faith in this pandemic. 4, reward yourself. I know this is something that we as Caribbean students find very hard, rewarding ourselves. Sometimes we think we reward ourselves, but we really don't. Because you see, a little accomplishment is still an accomplishment. It is critical to reward yourself as soon as you complete a crucial task or a target. By rewarding yourself, in that moment, your brain generates favorable feelings, enabling you to realize that your efforts have resulted in a pleasant reward. By doing this repeatedly, your brain will begin to associate pleasure with completing the activity or the target and will gravitate towards it in the future. In other words, the more you moderately reward yourself after completing a task to the best of your ability, you can't want to do anything halfway and then expect to reward yourself. But the more you accomplish the task that you have to do to the best of your ability and you just reward yourself moderately, the more you want to complete tasks, because it's the more you would want to reward yourself. You'll discover a cause to keep going if you implement a basic personal reward system for yourself. And it's also critical to remember that the size of the prize doesn't really matter. The size of the reward that you give yourself doesn't really matter. Because your reward doesn't have to be something fancy. By completing this task, you can reward yourself by giving yourself an extra 30 minutes of sleep, giving yourself an extra half an hour, 30 minutes of TV time. Some of us are watching our health during the pandemic, and we're trying not to eat any of the things that we used to. You take a cheat day by rewarding yourself. Even the slightest of rewards might make you motivated to achieve more. And motivation, as Miss McPherson would have said, is something that is crucial in these times where we are alone and behind this screen in this virtual environment. And 5, work smarter, not harder. And the reason I place this here, and some may say, but we are accustomed hearing this is something that we constantly hear, but is it something that we truly understand and know how to do? I found myself understanding what working smarter, and not harder meant. To be efficient with education and complete tasks on time is something we all want to accomplish. We can reach this professional goal, We can reach this professional objective regardless of the circumstances that we are faced with presently. The actual essence of getting things done sensibly is more than simply making a to-do list for your daily activities and checking your calendar on a regular basis. It will necessitate a few changes in your work habits. You will need to shift and sometimes even remove some of the habits that you have presently to make way for a more productive you, more smartly focused at production in your life. But in the end, your productivity, will skyrocket. Learning to work smarter, not harder, boosts your productivity and performance while also enhancing your happiness. And sometimes I find myself with the answer when I ask the question, why don't you just work smarter? And you know, you're overworking yourself, and sometimes the responses I get is, I have to work hard, I just need to push, I need to put that extra effort, and nothing is wrong with that. But working harder in an environment where you are unhappy, you tend to present results that are not favorable by yourself and those that are to market. But when you work smart and prioritize and set things in place to be positive, you tend to work in a more happier, comfortable environment where the quality of work exceeds that of a harder environment. And I'm here to give you some tips on how to work smarter. This is what I use. I don't know what you may use, but just to guide you. Create a morning routine. Many of us, I found myself doing it, just rolled off of bed straight into classroom. And we were not motivated, we were not productive. So it's at this time when we want to work smarter, we create a morning routine. Is it that I know, okay, I want to get up early this morning, I want to go and get ready, I want to bathe, I want to brush my teeth, I want to get something to eat and be on top of things, read a book and prepare for the class, be ahead of the class. Create a morning routine. And the reason I put create a closing routine there is because that is also crucial in the way you execute your morning routine. Because you can't expect to have a morning routine where you get up early, but in the night you just want to sleep extremely late. You want to go to sleep extremely late. It's important that you create a closing routine. Is it that you study better in the night, so you create the closing routine in the way that you prepare for the next day the night before, so that you are able to have a little extra hour of sleep where that preparation for class would have been, so that when you get up, it's just to get ready, get dressed, and prepare your mind mentally to start class. Next is to keep your to-do list at a minimum, please. Please, please, please keep your to-do list at a minimum. We as youth tend to feel stressed and feel anxiety when we see a lot to do on our plate. Keep your to-do list at a minimum. You will feel more motivated to complete the task at hand. And then when you have your to-do list as a minimum, concentrate on one activity at a time. Now, this may differ for some because there are those who have the ability to multitask efficiently. But for those who are not yet skilled like that, you can just take it a step at a time. It only gets easier. You will complete it once you start, but take it one step at a time, one at a time. Establish short deadlines, but also establish realistic deadlines. Because you can't want to have an assignment that is due Friday morning, but you decide to start it at Thursday at 9:50 p.m. Is it that you are able to produce that quality of work that is needed for that assignment? Finally, measure your outcomes rather than your time. This was really challenging for me because if you were paying attention to the subjects that I do, it involves me doing a lot of writing. And knowing that my exam is being timed, I used to try timing myself a lot in the earlies when I now started off with the subjects and doing my writing. And I used to produce poor work because I just was focused on that time and not the content, the quality, the outcome of what I was doing. And after a while, once you start and you focus on that quality, and then eventually time, it comes into play. You can only get better and you can only do it faster when you practice the proper thing, when you put in the content that is needed and not halfway. Yeah? And it just gets easier. As I said before, it gets easier. There's nothing else I can say. When you try it, you would realize that it just gets easier. I want to do a recap of the tips that I would have given you, the strategies to follow at this time. Just a quick recap. Engage in recreational activities. Be creative. Some of you may be able to run outside of the house because you have a big yard, but for those who can't, be creative. If you can't think of anything right now, ask a friend, do some research, but keep yourself engaged. Connect. Stay connected with friends, family, special groups, and at this time, find someone you trust. Find a mental health professional, your school guidance counselor. Stay on top of things and stay connected with these persons that we really need. Strengthen your relationship with God. Reward yourself. Please, please, I am imploring you all to reward yourself when necessary. It helps, it really does. And work smarter, not harder. And by adding these to our daily, we're adding this to our life, adding these strategies to our lives, we would realize that things get easier, though not immediately as we add it to our lives. After a while, it just gets easier and you are able to cope with the online learning. And even as we prepare to beat COVID-19 and come to a sense of normalcy again, where it is we go back to physical gathering, it just gets even easier because now you are able to enjoy recreation to the fullest extent without restrictions. And as we are fighting this pandemic and with the hopes of coming out victorious, I want to take this time to encourage each and every one of you to follow the 3 W's. Wash your hands, wear your mask, and watch your distance as we try to beat the fight with COVID-19 to get back to some sort of normalcy. Again, my name is Delano Jofield, and I would like to thank each and every one of you under the sound of my voice for listening to the presentation today. I hope it impacted at least one out of all of you.
Thank you very much, Delano. I'm sure that your presentation impacted more than one person this afternoon. Just a recap, I know you gave a recap of your tips and so on, but you also spoke about that although students are busy with school. I keep saying we because I am also a student. But although you're busy with school, it is possible to find a perfect balance. You spoke about how our life is divided. We have education, health, recreation, social, and spiritual. And I think a lot of times we neglect all those different elements because in trying to find that balance, sometimes you focus so much on education that you do not have that recreation part. And then when life happens and education is finished, you realize that you don't know how to adapt to interacting with persons. And I think that is one of the things that we have to be careful about, even as we are in this pandemic, that we do not forget how to interact with persons. We are so accustomed, being separate from one another, not seeing each other face to face, that that when you meet someone face to face now, it might be difficult to interact, but it's something that we need to find that balance and remember how it was to interact face to face, and that is still something that we hope that we can do in the future. You spoke about experiencing burnout, and that we should find that balance. And you spoke about the different areas, connecting with others, engaging in recreation activities, and so on. For the last point, when you spoke about working smarter, not harder, we gave tips about setting a routine, both morning and night. And I think that is also very important. A lot of times we have this routine, okay, we get up in the morning and so on, but then at night now you probably stay up late watching a movie on Netflix. It's so easy to watch Netflix on any device right now. Sometimes you decide to stay up, or you stay up on social media on your phone, and that now affects you when you have to get up early again for class. So we have to ensure that we set that routine and go to bed so that we are refreshed for class in the morning. Keep your to-do list a minimum and concentrate on one at a time. Establish short deadlines but be realistic, and measure outcomes rather than your time. So it was a lot to take in, but I think that all the students listening, that everything that was said could really be adaptable to at least one person, every different element. So we want to remind those who are viewing that you can send your questions on our Facebook page. Also, you can send questions in the Zoom chat if you're there. You can also view on our YouTube channel, and you can also view on Tobago Channel 5. Those who need any updates at all, you can always visit the division's website at thadeie.gov.tt. And also our social media or Facebook for updates. And also you can contact our Student Support Services Unit at 299-0781 extension 3109. So we have a question here for Delano. How were you able to recognize that you were depressed? You indicated in your presentation that you did go through depression. How were you able to recognize that you were depressed, and what are some of the signs that you recognize? So probably you can help someone else who probably is feeling the same way.
All right, well, if you know me, you know that I am a really jolly social person. And I found myself feeling really down and drained. You know, sometimes you're just in the moment and you're by yourself, and then that feeling that is just you can't explain it. It just hits, and you know it's not a good feeling. It's not something that you are accustomed to. It wasn't something that I was accustomed to. And then at first I just let it slide because I said, you know what, maybe it's just an in the moment thing. But then after a while I realized that where I would sometimes feel, you know, energetic and ready to go to class to see some of my friends and see certain teachers, you know, and, you know, learn something new, is just now like, boy, this again, this is just hard work. And then different things started coming into my head. I really have to go through all of this in a pandemic. Do I really have to go and now do an exam in a pandemic? I'm risking my life. And then I just started to, you know, fear started building up inside of me, and there were many times I cried. I'm not even ashamed to say there were many times I cried because I don't like holding things in. So I cried, and then I reached a point where many of my friends can attest to it. I just locked off everybody, and I was by myself. And I decided that enough was enough because I really gave up. As I said, I wasn't going to classes, and I really, really gave up. And I was able to then realize, here what, Delano, you have more. You are more, as I said before in this, as I said at the start in my introduction, you are not just a student. You are a mentor to some, an inspiration to some. You are a big brother as well as a little brother. You are a friend. You know, you are not just a student. There are other aspects of your life that you need to pay attention to. And that is when I realized, I have been burdening this one aspect, and it has made me depressed. It's really depression. And I even went and I started looking at videos to realize the signs, because sometimes we think we know the signs of depression, and depression hits us in so much different ways we don't even know. So I think you should also do research and speak to persons who you would have known that would have gone through experiences with depression that you know for sure, and they came out of it. And then I decided to get help from a mental health professional, and getting help is just step one. But it's important, I would like to let you know, it's important that you want it for yourself, that you want that betterment for yourself. You want to get back in your game, as we would say, you get back on top of things. You need to want that change from that environment of depression to that successful environment that you so desire.
Thank you very much. Even as you spoke, you said, well, you were Form 6, so you had to do exams, lower 6 exams during the pandemic. How was that experience? Probably it could provide some guidance or some tips for those students who, I know we have those coming up with SCA, we have CSEC, we have CAPE exams. You had to go through for the first time, doing an examination during a pandemic. How did you really prepare, and how was that examination process?
Well, I want to start by saying that I don't think the pandemic had hit us in the way that it is hitting us currently. There weren't so much cases, there weren't so much deaths and so on. So I still felt a level of comfort. I think many persons still felt a level of comfort going out and then we just had one paper to do. So it's just the faster you go in is the faster you come out. But there was anxiety, as there would always be. There will always be anxiety. But I think the most important thing at this time is to make sure that you are prepared. When you are prepared and you go in and you give your all, that is all that matters. When you feel that you are prepared and you go in and you give your all, that is all that matters. Yes, you might say, yes, but we prepare ourselves, but even within the preparation, we feel, demotivated. find some way to motivate yourself. For me, I really enjoy having Zoom sessions to do activities with, especially my history class. My history class, big up my history class. Yeah, I love doing activities with them, and we learn and interact and share ideas while you're revising. You could do it with a group. And even my teacher, she would always tell us, and I'm really now realizing what she is saying, that we forsake the importance of group study and group work, that coming together when we are not told to do an activity, but just coming together to share ideas. And you know, it ease the burdens, because there are things that you may not understand properly that a friend would understand, and vice versa. So it helps you to be more prepared. And I'm here to tell you again, anxiety will come. Even as I came here today, as I am accustomed doing like public speaking and doing presentations, I have anxiety. To me, it is the same as an exam to me. I have anxiety. Yes, I am prepared. I came prepared today. I went prepared for the exam. I feel the anxiety. And I just go, and I started presenting, it all went away. When you start writing, it all goes away. But the difference, the thing that would make the difference rather, is your level of preparedness. So I will encourage you to be prepared. Anxiety is something you can't get away from, but be prepared. But also in preparation, don't cause yourself to have a burnout. Take some time to ease your stress as well. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sure that what you said there would, it really did reach some student that probably was going through the same thing, especially those, as I said, who are preparing for examination. Now, we have a few other questions that are for Miss Joy McPherson. So what we will do now, we will take a break. And when we come back, we will go into those final questions for Miss McPherson, and then we will close out. So as we take a break, we have a message from our Student Support Services Unit.
So sad and alone. Nobody likes me or understands me. I don't like doing the things I usually do, and I feel as if nothing is ever going to go right again. I am so depressed.
Depression is a serious mood disorder that makes you feel sad, hopeless, and alone, and interferes with your life. It's sometimes very hard to explain how you feel to others who have never felt the way you do. It is more than just feeling down, and they may want to tell you to snap out of it, but it is not so easy, and it won't just go away. You see, when you struggle with depression, you may have trouble concentrating or focusing, so it might be difficult paying attention in class and completing your work. You may not enjoy the things you usually do, so you don't hang with your friends or go to the movies. You'd rather be alone. You may feel like there's no hope and nothing is ever going to feel good again. You may feel worthless, like you're a failure, and it's hard to look at the positive things in your life. You may feel angry or restless, and everything and everyone gets on your nerves. You may experience trouble sleeping or tend to oversleep. You may feel like you have no energy, feel drained, and your body may feel heavy. You may eat too much or feel like not eating at all. You may have pains such as stomach aches and headaches.
You see, with all these things happening, even if they did not understand, my parents and my friends noticed some of the behaviors. I took short walks on the beach, danced to my favorite music, talked to my friend. I took the opportunity to do some work with a community group in my area. I was also able to meet with a professional who helped me with my diagnosis.
There are many types of depressive disorders, like major depressive disorder, chronic depression, and bipolar depression. And working with a professional will help you understand the cause, recognize the symptoms, identify the type of depression, and determine the type of treatment required. If you or someone you know struggles with depression, do not wait. For more information, contact the Student Support Services Unit of the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy at 299-0781, extension 3154. Start the conversation and get the help you need.
Quite a number of people struggle with anxiety. as it is one of the most diagnosed mental health disorders. It's that feeling of fear or worry that is so great that it affects your performance at school and your relationships with those you love. It's okay to be afraid of something, but when that fear or worry prevents you from living a normal life, it is time to get help. Our bodies respond to stress in different ways and for many different reasons. So the first day of school, meeting new people, trying something new, or taking a test may cause us to feel nervous, fearful even. However, if these feelings are so extreme, last longer than 6 months, then you may have an anxiety disorder. Trying something new or taking a test may cause you to feel anxious. It's unpleasant, but it can motivate you to work harder and to do a better job because you won't want to fail. That's an ordinary response, but when you have an anxiety disorder, the feeling of fear and worry is with you all the time and may prevent you from doing the things you enjoy and need to do. Someone having an anxiety attack may experience increased heart rate, rapid breathing, restlessness, trouble concentrating, and difficulty falling asleep. These signs may seem scary, but anxiety is treatable, and you can learn strategies to help you cope with and manage your symptoms. The first step of managing your anxiety is recognizing that there is a problem. Other steps include taking time out to do something like listen to music, taking deep breaths, counting to 10 slowly, getting enough sleep, exercising daily, and just doing your best. Mild cases of anxiety can be managed with lifestyle changes. However, in more moderate or severe cases, treatment is recommended to manage symptoms and lead a normal day-to-day life. For further information, please contact the Student Support Services Unit of the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy at 299-0781 extension 3154. Start the conversation and get the help you need.
Back to Students Finding the Perfect Balance an initiative of the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy. So last presenter we had was Mr. Delano Jofield, and of course he was a student and he spoke about all these different topics and different hints and tools that students could use. And we of course had another student. We had Ms. Joy McPherson from our Student Support Services Unit, and we had another student Nkosi Waldron, and he also spoke from on giving students tips on how to adjust to this new lifestyle. Now we had some other questions and we wanted to come back to these questions, and most of these questions are for Ms. Joy McPherson. So we'll ask them now, and again if anyone has any other questions, we have just about 20 minutes, a little under 20 minutes again, so we'll try to get as many questions in as possible. So you can give your questions either on the Zoom chat if you are there, and also on the Facebook Live if you are there, you can ask your questions there. So to Ms. McPherson, children are concerned about the amount of work they are given within a specific time period and they feel overwhelmed. How can parents assist?
Okay. One of the things that we realize is that, and we have to acknowledge that there are a lot of things that are beyond the child's control. As a parent, being aware of what is necessary and the tasks given by the teachers, you need to communicate with your children's teachers, because some children may be able to navigate, but some may be having difficulties. And it's easier and it's better if you communicate this to the teacher, right? Because it's not a matter of us as parents doing the work for the children. We have to assist them. But again, when it becomes so overwhelming that they check out, it's not doing them any services or any benefits. So the easiest thing to do is to communicate with the teacher and to be able to explain what the difficulties are, because the difficulties may be just that the child does not completely understand, or it's a lot, it's too much for them. So the first thing as a parent, please communicate with the teachers. Have that channel of communication open all the time. And as much as you can as a parent, support your child in completing whatever work that they have to do as much as you can.
Okay. The other question we have, can a student who is easily distracted and daydreams get some tips on how to focus? And this is a question from our Facebook page. So can a student who is easily distracted and daydreams, can you give them some tips on how they can focus?
Facing distractions in the home environment it's a normal thing, because there are so many things going on in that space. One of the things, as I mentioned before, using headphones is one way. I saw something being done as well, even in terms of having other siblings around. And what they did, and this is a trick we can probably look into, using a cartoon box, create what is known as a carol. So it's that your space, it's just your space that is enclosed, and you can pretty it up, put a little posters and stuff on it, and create a space for yourself. Because you're now enclosing yourself, you will minimize a lot of the distractions that may be going on around you. All right? But becoming distracted, there's so many things in your environment. Remember, this is home. And this is where you would have fun, this is what you do. But if you create a space for yourself that is considered your classroom, we can minimize the distraction. So that's something we can do. Invest in the headphones that will keep you a little focused on what is happening with you. And as well, utilize that little, it's simple. A cartoon box, you can place it on your table. You put your little posters, you pretty it up, you put all the things that you need within there and create a space for yourself. So that's something even parents could help with their children.
So it's almost like creating each child's own cubicle that it could operate in.
Yes.
Okay, all right. We have another question from Facebook. If you are home and stressed and your parents are not supportive or helping you relieve that stress, what do you do? Because I know, I think in the session with parents, one of the presenters were talking about, when your children are in the Zoom session, try not to be too loud. Sometimes if the child is in the dining room, the parent might be in the kitchen cooking, or call the child for something. And that kind of disrupting them in their class could also add to the stress. So if a child is in a situation like that where they are stressed and then the environment or the parents not supporting them or not helping relieve that stress, what do they do?
Again, I must say some of these things, and they're the norm. Remember, parents do have their responsibilities, and there are some students that you would have to continually monitor, especially the younger ones, because what you realize is that even though the teacher is teaching, you as the parent would have to reinforce. Mm-hmm. And it's your responsibility because you're now in their space. Mm-hmm. In terms of not being supportive, parents have to reassess their role in their children's education. It's not a matter of you're in the home and you're cooking and you're doing other things. Yes, it's necessary. But in terms of meeting the children where they are, parents have to reassess their role and play a more important, instructive, supportive role in their children's lives. So, I even in terms of meeting the children where they are, you have to sometime as a parent change your approach. You have to realize where your child is or where your children are, what they're doing, what they're listening to, what they're involved in, what's their concern. And I think building that type of relationship with them is going to foster an even closer relationship in terms of you now investing in their education. So learning your children, getting to know your children again. Because we've so much been out of the house, everybody in their own world, children in school, you're at work, extracurricular, you're so caught up in so many different things, you didn't have the time to do it. Now, you're given the time. Let that time be beneficial. Get to know your children again and understand where they are, who they are, and invest in their education.
Thank you. I now have a question for both Nkosi and Delano. The question is, I have SCA and I'm not motivated. What can I do? So if both of you can give tips on how a student who is not motivated, they have SCA coming up, what they can do to be more motivated. So I will begin with Nkosi.
Okay, you have SCA. You have SCA. You can't get away from it. You have to do it, right? As I said before, you have daily affirmations. Constantly telling yourself something will do a lot. So you telling yourself, okay, yeah, I ready. I'm going to mash up that exam. I'm going to do great and nobody can tell me otherwise. Constantly telling yourself that does something to you. Apart from that, just, relaxing. Don't overthink. You know you're prepared. You've been practicing your whole primary school life for this thing. You've been doing past papers, how much months now preparing for this exam. So what it is to be afraid of, what it is to be demotivated for. No, you just go, you put your best foot forward, you mash up the thing and then you go away.
Thank you very much. I like that. I like that a lot. So, Delano, what advice you give to that student?
Apart from just mashing it up and going your way, I want to encourage you to think to the future and let the future motivate you. And when I say that, what do I mean? When I was at that SCA road, at crossroads for SCA, I too was demotivated. I was not the top of my class. I did not know what was going to happen. It's just like, Delano, what is this? Like, I just go through primary school just to reach at this juncture to fail. What really going on? But then I had to remind myself, I am doing this not just to pass SCA, but I am doing this for something greater. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a pilot. Maybe I want to be a hairdresser for the females, a nail tech. You push with that in mind, with preparation. And I know you may be saying, oh gosh, Delano, that really not solving me, not being motivated enough. But if that not helping, like looking onward to the future, find videos. I find myself looking at motivational videos. They do a lot. Find videos that would be able to motivate you. Find that person that always makes you feel like it makes you feel a need to do your best. There's always a person in your life that makes you want to do more, want to do better, and hold on to that person in this time especially to propel you to do your best, to motivate you, right? Just find that thing. And as Nkosi say, just go and mash it up and go away with it.
Yes, and I think that whole looking at motivational videos, it's actually a good point, and it's a good technique because, as was said before, sometimes there's so much negativity that we see on a daily basis, even on social media. You keep seeing all the different posts about, the statuses, seeing people who are getting ill and so on, and sometimes looking at these kind of motivational videos or even following motivational pages on Instagram or on Facebook so you can get that daily dose of motivation. So when you go on your timeline, it's not just all this negative or all this thing that doesn't feed you, but when you go on your timeline, you're seeing things that will also feed you and help you motivated and help you be encouraged to do your SCA exam, your CSEC exam, your CAPE exam, or just to do your end of term exam, So we want to really encourage the students that when you look at your timeline, make sure it's something that continues to build you and motivate you and not just that negativity, because you are what you're fed. If you're continually continually fed with this negativity and these kind of things that don't build you, then it wouldn't be contributing to you in any way. So make sure that you follow these motivational pages. Instagram has a lot of them. Facebook has a lot of them. Even on Twitter, there's a lot of them. YouTube has a lot of them. There are several, there are several platforms, and any platform you go on, there is both the negative and the positive, but try to focus on the positive. So as we are coming to a close, I would like to ask each of our presenters if they will give closing remarks. And I want to start with Nkosi. If you can give closing remarks, your final thoughts to the students who are listening in. We have both primary and secondary school students present. If you can give some final thoughts to our students.
Okay, my final thing that I would like to say to you all, as the previous presenters would have said, apart from being a student, you also have a social life. You need to differentiate, okay, time for me, time for school. And, find some way to balance it. That is what we're here for. We're here to get tips of finding how to balance. Feed yourself that positive energy, that good vibes. Don't focus on the negatives. Me, I don't. It's a bad thing, but I don't watch the news nowadays because of the amount of COVID-related news that coming across and the amount of negative stuff. It's not helping me. So what I would do, I could not listen to it and go and watch some kind of motivational video on YouTube, as Delano said, rather than focusing on the negative. So look in your life, focus on the positive, be grateful for what you have, and just find activities that would help you to want to push through, want to go forward.
Thank you. Miss McPherson, your closing thoughts?
Again, I want to emphasize that finding balance is not perfect. It's a work in progress, and you find the things that work for you. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I'm going to say it again, communicate. Start very simple and reach out to someone that you trust. There's going to be someone that you trust, okay? Just find the strategies that work for you. Move forward. Hold on to your faith. Find that solace that gives you peace of mind and gives you strength. I want to encourage us, you as students as well. Speak positively of yourself and to yourselves. Don't wait for anybody to do it for you. In all things, give God thanks and go forward. We will get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. And finally, Delano.
I want to leave you all with these words: engage, connect, strengthen, reward, and be smart in your approach. You can and you will, only if you really want to. You have to want the improvement that you need. You know you need it, but you need to want it in order for it to manifest in your life. And go forth and be great. Do you. And make Trinidad and Tobago, a better place.
Thank you very much. So we've come to the end to students finding the perfect balance, and this was the final installment of a three-part series put on by the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy. We looked at, of course, parents in the first segment, then teachers, and now students. So as we close, we have a message from the Office of the Prime Minister Gender and Child Affairs Unit, and they have an interactive mental health workbook that contains tips, referrals, and activities for students. And you can visit their website at opm-gca.gov.tt, and you can download the workbook and get additional tips. And we will close with a video from the Office of Prime Minister Gender and Child Affairs Unit.
must go back to work. How are we going to pay the bills?
But what if something happens to us? Who will take care of our daughter?
When you talk about this viral infection, it runs the gamut between no symptoms to mild symptoms, vague kind of viral symptoms to obviously severe requiring hospitalization, literally.
Childhood is a time of incredible brain development. Children are learning how they connect to the world around them. That means that stress in a child's family and community can make them feel anxious and alone. Parents may be seeing more tantrums, trouble sleeping and eating, and other worrisome changes in their children. Without support, stress could lead to long-term harm. But don't worry, there are things that you can do. Listen to your child's fears and concerns, and reassure them with explanations and hope. Schedule time every week to do a fun activity with your child. Connect your child to positive support persons, such as a trusted family member and friends. Returning to school may include some challenges. Develop a support plan and help your child prepare emotionally. And finally, take care of yourself and your mental health needs. Model the positive behavior you wish to see in your child.